I heard
I'm
a
sure.
stat this morning, and I don't know if it was part of the Phillies post-game notes where this came from, but Jesus Luzardo last night, or I guess the Mets, by extension, were the first team in the history of baseball to score 4 runs in the first inning and then not have a base runner for the remainder of the game in a
Yeah.
loss. I mean, that's hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering, John Schmaltz said it on the broadcast last night. I was told he said it. You were watching, I was there, so I didn't hear it. But I was told at one point he said, "I wonder if a pitcher's ever given up 4 runs in the first inning and then gone on to throw a complete game." And the answer to that is probably yes. In historical times, back when pitchers used to throw
Old Bill McGillicuddy, 8 fingers McGillicuddy, and 18
one of those
97.
guys, right? So, but it got me thinking, like, when was the last time a Phillies pitcher actually got 22 outs in a row? And like, my initial thought was Halladay, right? But it actually turns out I did the research, and it was Zach Wheeler actually against the Mets. You may remember this game, August 8th, 2021. It was the day that they retired Halladay's number at Citizens Bank Park, and he threw a 2-hit complete game shutout.
Yeah, I made Joe Girardi cry after the game. I asked him a question, and he like teared up.
Yeah, he gave up a leadoff double, got the next 22 batters in a row. Then there was a walk, and then he gave up a hit in the 9th inning, but 2-hit complete game shutout, and that was the last time. So, but that was a game where Wheeler was dominant from Jump Street. Luzardo looked like he wasn't going to get through the second inning.
No,
and
he did not.
Then dominated the Mets thereafter. So that's a fascinating pitching performance, but just all around, Bob. I mean, it was all 4 starting pitchers were great. The lineup was really good. The outfield all of a sudden has gone from the biggest weakness of this team to one of its strengths. It's just right now things are a little bit different with this team. It feels a little bit different right now. And I'm starting to believe a little bit more in where they are, especially in the lot of how things are in baseball in general. They may very well be the best team going into the playoffs.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack, and it's all good right now. I mean, let's start with Luzardo. I thought what was interesting about last night, it was the latest example in which you see that he can go out and just utterly dominate an opponent. And that's why I'm an advocate, even though there's a little bit of a blow-up potential, even though there's a little bit of a wild card nature in what he gives you. He has been more consistent lately. And the thing that was most impressive, and this is not exactly a earth-shattering take, but you see when things go wrong for Jesus Luzardo, a lot of times it really goes wrong and he can't stabilize. And I know he's a passionate guy. He's an energetic guy. And I think at times this season that's worked against him. For him to come back from that start last night and really stabilize and give them the game that he gave them, I think is a huge plus, a huge positive about how you feel. Again, you get into a playoff situation. What happens if the first inning's a little bit rocky? Like, is he going to break or is he going to punch back? And last night he punched back. And I think that you take that and you put that in the plus column for when you decide, are we going to use this guy in the postseason as a starter or not, which is something that they are evaluating in real time. I mean, after the game last night, Ken Rosenthal led with that. Like, hey, there's a lot of talk about how the Phillies are going to line up the rotation in October. Like, what do you think about yourself right now and how you're going? Like, this is a talking point. And I think last night he made a very strong case for himself to be one of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely he did. And that was the most impressive part about it, Bob, was, and I asked Rob about this after the game. I said, earlier this year, he would have a bad inning and the game would go sideways on him. And when you look at it, I broke down these numbers too. I'll tell you what Rob said in just a second. I broke down these numbers too. He's made 30 starts for the Phillies this year. 26 of the 30, he's given up 4 runs or less, and yet has an ERA higher than 4.
Yeah.
Right. So those 4 starts that were terrible were god awful. But even in the 4 games that he gave up 4 runs, right, those games were shorter outings because he let an inning or 2 get away from him, had a lot of traffic, got a little bit emotional in the game. Remember the game up in New York against the Mets where he started barking at the umpire. He got thrown out as he was getting removed from the game. Like, so there are a lot of things like that with Luzardo. And Rob said last night, he said, I think he's learned a few things, and I think he's worked on it. and realize that you can only worry about the next pitch and everything you do going forward and not think about what just happened. And that control what you can control. I know it's a very cliche thing, control the controllables, right? But it's really to the point where he has to just let go. Hey, it was a bad inning, but they still need me to throw at least 4 or 5 more. Turns out he ended up throwing 7 more yesterday. I got to go out there and do a job and keep this team in the game, give him a chance to come back. And boy, did he ever do it. So like that's a big step for Jesus Luzardo as a pitcher, and something that the Phillies can look at and go, okay, maybe he can do this in the postseason when the pressure is at its greatest.